Hi, I am Melinda, and I'm here to tell you about my story. 31 years ago, started a journey for me. Out of high school, I had to get an apartment because my family was falling apart, and two of my siblings were in the service. My family divorced, and I ended up getting custody of my youngest sister. She was 7, I was 19, and we did life for 4 years. And from that, I started dating this guy. I found out he was an alcoholic. It was not a good fit for me and my sister, and I broke up with him. And in the meantime, I found out after I broke up with him that I was pregnant. And I loved the Lord. I was pro-life, and I was stuck. And I cried out to the Lord to ask what I need to do, give me guidance. And I knew I wasn't aborting my child, but I didn't know if I could care for my child with me and already taking care of my sister. So I went to the ex-boyfriend and told him that I was pregnant. I said, you have 5 months to get your life in order if you want to have a relationship with me and this child. And he was a mess. He couldn't do that. And I said, I can't live my life this way with me and my sister. I just can't. So I chose that day to put my child up for adoption. I was 24 years old, and there was this Christian adoption center that I went to, and they started giving me information about it, and I got to pick the type of family I wanted, the type of parents, how much money they made, this and that, sky's the limits. And my 3 requests were, I wanted them to be Christians, I wanted them to have another adopted child in the family, and I wanted the mom to be a stay-at-home mom. They were my 3 requests. I didn't care how much money they made, because I knew that if they loved the Lord, that would be the best home for my child. So in the meantime, I'm walking through the 9 months and just asking the Lord to help me be strong. And he just came alongside me and was my husband at that time. He just strengthened me. My one request was that I would be strong for this family, that I would not waver in my decision, because I felt like this was the best decision for me to make. So maybe a month later, they came back and they said, I have good news for you. We found this family that adopted a year prior, and they really want a second child, and we will allow them to do that because that's your request and that's what you want. So I looked at the family dynamics. They were a Christian. She was a stay-at-home mom, and I said, yes, I just felt from the Lord that he was giving me this family so that my child would have another adopted sibling in the family. And I just felt like that was from the Lord, just declaring that he cares for my need, and doing this and stepping out in this and doing what's right for me, that he honored that in me. Once the 9 months was ready, and the delivery came, it was quick and fast. I tried to disconnect as much as possible. I didn't want to know the sex, and I wanted to try and have as least connection with that as possible, because I felt like that was my way that I could deal with it without having regret or struggling more in that. So once the delivery was fine, the baby was fine, and I had papers to sign before I left the hospital. And once they gave me the papers, I saw that it was a girl, and I was just like, Lord, just help me, and I just signed it quickly, and I went home and once I went home, I was just like, that was God confirming that, even though I didn't want to. They had already adopted a boy a year ago, and now my child was a girl, and they had this perfect family with a boy and a girl that were both adopted to complete their family. And I just felt like that was God's answer. And recently, like 3 years ago, we had some family members from church start to adopt, and people talking about it more at our church. And there was this couple, the Hendersons, and they adopted one girl. And I was just like, Lord, why are you stirring this up in me again? And I felt like God just said, I need you to heal from this. I need you to, and I thought that I was healed, but he said there's more that needs to come from this. And so, I walked through some more healing. And then they adopted a second child. I said, Lord, my child was a second child that was adopted. I felt like God said to me that I'm showing you this family that loves these two adopted children, because this is the family that your child was adopted in. Your child was adopted in tons of love for both children and grown up in a loving relationship. And that just totally closed it for me, and I felt like I was supposed to share that with the Hendersons, and through sharing that brought healing to them as well. So all of this to say that I am sharing this today to let you know that God is in the details of life, of choices, and if you allow him to work in your life, he will redeem it. And he's redeemed my story, and he can redeem the story of this family that you're raising money for, and do wonderful things through this family. And I thank you for that, and I thank you for allowing me to share my story.